There's
Yeah.
some agents out there that will essentially plant seeds but never harvest from them.
And that was for 6 months their lead conversion process. And I was like, yeah, of course you didn't get any conversions. Your marketing before they become that lead has to be so strong. There is no other option but this person, and I'm willing to wait.
Like, what service should you wait that long, even for initial contact? Call-based sales process, they say that relationships start on the fifth phone call.
48 minutes of content is how long it took for someone to buy.
Sales is conversations for cash, and then
Yeah.
marketing is methods to make that happen. Welcome to the Leads Are Shit. This is a real estate magazine podcast, and I'm here with Andrew Foliato, the founder of Just Sell Homes, a real estate marketing company that markets so realtors can just sell homes, as well as the owner of Real Estate Magazine. Andrew, how's it going, man?
It is good. It's had a, if I look a little off, I got the drops in my eyes, so my pupils are like I've been doing drugs for hours.
Hey, man,
So
microdosing is all the trend right now.
yeah, I'm just trying to actually
Um,
just cover the fact that I'm so high right now.
yeah, meth is not a weekend drug. That's
Yeah,
full time.
it's high performance is what it is. But I was like, until this we started this like like I had to have all the lights off. It's just coming in. But yeah, it's a fun day. So just
That's
doing all that.
awesome.
Yeah.
My name is Taylor Hack. I'm a team leader in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and also I am maybe what do they call that? The Pied Piper of internet artificial intelligence. We're not sponsored by Otter, but feel free to send your Otter or your Fireflies to our
Yeah.
Zoom.
Yeah.
You can also join live. And the
The,
benefit if you join live is one, you can hang out with us. And if you're currently live with us right now, hop into the chat. We'd love to hear who you are and where you're from because real estate is both a geographically based game and a contact sport. So it could be that other audience members here are from your migration route. They may have people that need to go where you're at. So shout it out. And I'm Taylor from Edmonton.
and you are a little busy in Edmonton right now.
Ooh, it's spicy.
A
All
little
right,
different
so
than
Monday
other
night,
places. Yeah.
I stacked multiple offers back to back. So on Monday, we had one property that had seven offers. And I thought that it did pretty well, right? Like it ended up selling unconditionally 9% over list price. So that gives you an indicator where my market has potential. Meanwhile, we had another one that had 17 offers. There's
Not bad.
not many agents in Edmonton that have seen over 17, but if you're from Toronto or Vancouver and you were in business during the pandemic, you've probably seen north of that.
I mean, I think the most directly have spoken to an agent about was like 80 something.
Ooh, 80
I've
spicy
heard
because Tom Ferry
anecdotally,
said 77. So
yeah,
Tom Ferry said the most he's ever heard of was 77. And Andrew, you've seen in the 80s?
it was, yeah, I can't remember if it was low or high 80s, but I definitely heard, I've anecdotally have heard people say over 100. I have never talked to someone directly who's had that. In terms of like
Hmm.
talking directly to someone, there was one in the 80s. But like even they'll admit of those, like a good 20-30% are people just like, I'm gonna throw offers 200,000 under ask. You're like, that's not going anywhere. We all know that's not going anywhere. Why are you even bothering?
Well, there's also a
So
few things to consider. The other one that we did, the third one on Monday was 45.
yeah,
So that's a heavyweight, right? We don't see north of 40 very much.
yeah,
My current record is 57.
it's pretty good.
Um, but you got to have a lot of systems to do that. So first off, most agents don't want to manage that. That's actually why I'm able to do this now is I was consulting with agents that were looking to deal with this challenge during COVID. They're like, "Man, I got 75 showing requests. How do I do this?"
Yeah,
So we started building in talking about clients going to Airbnbs during opening weekend. We talked about where the perfect timing was of launching that listing, like Thursday, so that all the websites populate on Friday. You're going to be the hottest thing for the weekend.
yeah,
And then from that marketing perspective, if you didn't have any previews, the theater is going to be empty. You know how many listings hit the market, and the only people that know about them before it hits like realtor.ca in Canada here is the agent and their clients.
yep,
That's a problem. And so when we started to like decode these things, it was really interesting to see what trends were and what results were, because it turned out that when you price the property very accurately, you would end up with less than a handful of offers.
Yeah.
And agents had a very good method of determining how much they should spend over asking with those common reference points that they run into all the time, like six offers.
No.
Then you found some agents that were like the real common move with downtown condos in Toronto was list at 900, sell at like 1.3, right? So you'd take something that had evidence that it would sell for like maybe 1.1, but then the market was rising. So the references were in the past. So it's probably going to be spicier than that. But instead of trying to guess where the market is going to land, they would literally just let the market tell them, okay, I can do this. And the further you pull back that list price and use price as a marketing tool, the more activity you will generate. But how much can your machine handle?
Yeah.
My machine starts to rattle at about 150 showings in a weekend,
It's fair. It's pretty good volume if you can handle that, though.
right? But we can still stitch it together to go higher than that.
Yeah.
And that's what I had helped these agents build. And then the offer machine, like when you're talking about offers here in Canada, 60 offers is going to be like, I don't know, 300 or so pages of light reading.
Yeah.
And
Need a summary
also
document.
at 60 offers, you're probably going to have in excess of 180 agent contacts that day.
Yeah.
So why do it? That's a really good question. I even had a realtor ask me this weekend. They're like, man, this seems like a lot of work. But the results were exceptional because when you price it close to the market, you get a few offers, and those offers have reference points, so they make really conventional offers. But buyers are really compelled by two things. They're worried about missing the one or paying too much. That's like their key drivers. And so if you make them focus on missing the one so much, they tend to start to lose ground when it comes to paying too much or less focus on that. So then when you can take agents out of the reference points, 10 offers, 15 offers, 25 offers. Oh my goodness, I've never even seen 40 before.
Yeah.
Now you're basically changing the landscape so much that anything is possible. And I've seen 36% over list price. I'm going to
There's
be
an
pretty close to doing that again
yeah.
this week.
There's an agent. I wish I could remember her name. She was presenting at a conference I was at, but she was like Southern United States. I want to say Georgia. I might be wrong for this. She had an interesting strategy with open houses where she'd list Thursdays, and her MLS must have allowed this because, like, I know Treb, you can't actually do this exactly. Is she wouldn't allow any showings from when they list on Thursday until Sunday at 1. But then
Hmm.
they would also do an open house 1 to 2. So they would actually book every showing at the same time, 1 o'clock on Sunday, plus host an open house Sunday, and but only do the open house 1 to 2. And the entire goal was to create lines around the block of people to build that hype up. And it was you're showing like when they did that model on a house, how much more money it got because of all that hype of everyone coming in. So it's like you shorten the open house, stop showings until that time. It's like everyone gets it that day. But I know like some boards, and not every board's like this, the second it hits MLS, you have to be allowed to see it. So that's where
Well,
it's
also, like you have to think about a few things. One, you have to consider that the more people are aware that you're influencing the situation, the less likely the influence is going to work.
no,
So in Vancouver, they did dollar listings.
yeah.
So
There's a
they
lot of
list
those in
something
Toronto
for
right now.
a dollar. Yep, and basically, like you get on the news. That's what we mean when we say price is a marketing tool. If you do conventional things, you get conventional results. If you do exceptional things, you get exceptional results. But if you do things that are poorly calculated, you get unpredictable results, right? So this is the name of the game. Now, when I take a look at like what we're looking as our strategy, we're testing some things. So today we're launching listings and we do have showing suppression on one of them. So I'm doing an opening night open house, but I'm more doing this like opportunistically meaning that our clients, as far as what they could accommodate and so on, just happened to line up this way. We're going to launch a Thursday morning anyway, but tonight is going to be very spicy. So basically, that 5 to 8 window, where this house is very much going to look like a nightclub. But again, you got to be careful what you wish for and be calculated for what you wish for. We have a team of people. If we have 3 or 4 groups in an open house, it is still everybody is like well looked after, but also well watched. Like these are other people's open houses,
Yeah.
or sorry, these are other people's properties, and we want to make sure that they're having a great experience. And even though the property is exciting, it doesn't end up being an issue.
Did I ever tell you my business that it was before Just Sell Homes that I almost started? I had started getting quotes and looking at getting it built out.
Hmm.
It's called Bidding Station. It was basically a platform where like you as a listing agent would upload the listing and you'd put it in and it would put it there and people could one register for updates, which you've heard me talk about that before. But you could also like upload. So this is to combat bully offers, is you could upload a bully offer, but
Hmm.
other agents could register their offer for offer date, and it would still update everyone on it when another one got registered, so it fulfills all the compliance. But you could also upload if someone submits a bully offer, release this offer. If no one submits a bully offer, release this offer to them on offer date. And it was like this platform where everyone would have it. You'd get updates on what's going on with it. It'd be a realtor portal and a client portal, so you could pick up some unrepresented buyers as well. But it was basically a one place for your listing that would go up, and you could upload all the offers into one spot and manage them all from there. But
Hmm.
it also manages the bully offer process for you too.
There's a lot of platforms right now that are pursuing that online
Yeah,
offer management system.
yeah,
And it really like the problem is legislation moves so slowly. You know,
yeah.
I had an agent recently say like, "Oh yeah, if you want to place an offer, you just got to go to this link and upload it there." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know about that." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm currently under contract with my client, and it's very clear about confidentiality, right?" Also, the Canadian Real Estate Council or Association is also pretty clear
Well,
on what you
one
can
sec.
disclose.
Sorry, my phone just called, and I guess with these, it muted you here to try and put my phone through. I'm back.
Okay.
I didn't know it did that because that's the first time that's happened with these new headphones. So I'm muting my phone.
So when it comes down to like confidentiality, I know that if I'm the one who entered it into a website, that that's something that is my problem, right?
Yeah,
Whereas if I send this agent an offer the way that we are set up and protected to send offers, then that's something that won't be my problem. So that's what I presented to them. Is I was like, "Hey, if you want to put my offer on a website, you can do that.
yeah.
I don't advise it, but
Eh,
I can't do that."
There's an interesting one from years ago. So I used to do a lot more than I do today, like tech consulting for prop tech companies, and I was consulting for a company that did offers and like e-signatures, all that. And the platform, the first version of it, you had to use it. Because the idea behind it was a smart contract in the sense of like, if you update something here, it automatically updates here, it automatically updates there, it knows the logic. But that only works if everyone's using the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And what the founders couldn't get their head around for a long time, which is part of the reason the platform is not around anymore, um, is that they're like, oh no, if someone presents an offer, they'll just have to use the platform. Like, no, no, on an offer night with 80 offers, if before they can see the offer, the agent has to now be a tech trainer for the listing agent,
Mm-hmm.
they're never like you've already lost because they have to deal with 70 other offers. They're not going to go through a 20-minute demo of your software to do that when there's 20, like 50, 60 other offers sitting there. And
Their
then they're like, oh, we'll get
strategy
the
would
listing agent.
the
Yeah.
strategy would only work if you were a monopoly. Like I get
Yeah.
that you've got high aspirations, but
Yeah.
you can't even get 5 dentists to agree on toothpaste brand.
Yeah. I don't know. One of those like decent idea. And then they were like, okay, well, what if we got the listing agent? I was like, same thing though. You're not going to train 70 people submitting an offer on offer night how to use your platform and be their tech support because now you're going to cost your client's business from people who can't figure it out. So I was like,
Mhm.
there's zero chance either of those situations are going to happen.
And also, there's like
And
fiduciary responsibilities here. So
yeah,
when you create something that is like a workflow process, if it actually inhibits someone from making offers or making effective decisions around offers,
yeah,
you got kind of a handful of problems. So one, you've got a problem with your obligation to the seller, right? But you've also got additional challenges when it comes to like your responsibility to communication to all the agents and everything else like
yeah,
that. So you really got to watch out. But
yeah.
obviously, to talk about that is not necessarily like what we get into all the time, but
Yeah,
it is an interesting thing that's taking place right now.
yeah. But even that idea of just for like you have to think about how they experience, not how you want it. Like even when we come to like marketing and the conversion process, like the amount of people like to bring in the leads or shit concept here. Like if you one thing I think every agent needs to do, and not enough do this, is after you set up a campaign or you're planning out a campaign, go through that campaign yourself as if you were a consumer
Mm.
and actually see what the other person experiences so that you understand what they've seen, what it's felt like, so that when you call them, you know what they've gotten, you know what that email looks like, you know all of it. And especially in an ideal world, even like pick up someone, like use a phone number that doesn't have your number saved in it. Because you want like, how does that show up when you call? Does it say maybe spam? If they Google the number, what does that show? Like, what are all those pieces along the way? And that's not like not enough people have done that type of exercise with their
Hmm.
marketing. Like I always go back to the Disney book Be Our Guest. Um, and they talk about like one of the things they make their executives do is once in a while they have to walk through Disney on their knees to experience it from the point of view of a child. And one of the lessons that they talk about in the book is all the stores that sell merchandise, they lowered the like knee wall to the ground and made it floor to ceiling glass because some of the knee walls were just high enough that kids couldn't see through. But that it was something like 20 or 30% boost in sales because now kids can look
Hmm.
in and be like, Mom, Dad, I want that.
Hmm.
But no one thought of that because they'd never experienced it from the point of view of a child. So it's like that's the stuff that like you have to take that kind of consideration of what are they seeing when they go through that, and that's how you can truly figure out how to make it better. And until you do that at like marketing and sales, like how are they experiencing your flow? Like for me, there's an ideal flow, but is that always the ideal one for the consumers?
That's actually the big thing that we revisit over and over again,
Mm.
which is there's spots that end up being like gaps or dead ends. Like there's
Yeah,
some agents out there that will essentially plant seeds but never harvest from them because it could be as simple as the click to call doesn't work.
yeah,
And that's because you no longer subscribe to this program that was really good 5 years ago and then
yeah,
slowly went into. So, like checking those things and making sure that people can come through properly.
yeah,
And then also, once they do come through, what trigger do you have that alerts your attention? Are they just like in a random email box until you do that, until you're
yeah,
not busy? Because
yeah.
they don't wait until you're not busy.
Well, like I always use the example. I had a client this year, it's probably like 8, 9 years ago now. We got them 1,000 leads over 6 months. And they're like, we didn't close a single deal. Your service sucks. We're not paying you. Goodbye. Like they still owe me like $7,500 from back then.
Whoa.
Long story. Um, but they didn't close. So there was like, we didn't close it. And I'm like, all right, well, you need to dive deeper into your conversion process with me because 1,000 leads, even accidentally, there should be some conversions in there.
Yeah, so you're gonna
Like,
get like just for
yeah,
showing up,
yeah,
you're probably gonna get about maybe 20 or 30 of those to convert.
yeah,
If you start getting to like industry average of like big, wide, underfiltered web leads, you probably should be starting to roll into the 70s, like a
yeah.
7% conversion
But
rate. And these
if
guys got
you
a zero.
zero, and so I was like, what's your conversion process? So this is a team leader who did a couple hundred deals a year. And when he got to his email a couple days later, he'd look at the name and be like, "Oh, that's an Italian name. Send it to the Italian agent on the team. Oh, that's a Chinese thing. I sent it to the agent who speaks Chinese or Mandarin on my team." And they would just like go through the names and try to like match it with whoever on his team he felt like would be best suited for just like the name he saw in the email. And then they would get to it a couple days later after they got the email and would call one time. if that. And that was for 6 months their lead conversion process. And I was like, yeah, of course you didn't get any conversions. Like they might get a call 4, 5, 6 days after opting in on something. They're not even going to remember it by then.
I'm trying to think about what type of interaction that would work in. Like,
Yeah.
I think that if you were the hottest girl ever, that would work in dating.
So
But like
you could
that
even
type
get
of
there as an agent.
attention
You
wouldn't
could
work
get
in
there
a
as
lot
an
of other
agent.
places.
But if you were to do that as an agent where you're calling them 5 or 6 days later, there are scenarios you can make that work. But your marketing before they become that lead has to be so strong that the people opting in are like, there is no other option but this person, and I'm willing to wait.
I think that that
And
is a
that's
very,
hard.
that is also aspirational.
It's doable, but it's hard.
You would have to be like the likelihood that you would be profitable under that circumstance is so little
Yeah.
because you would have to be so far and away better than second place,
Yeah.
like at
The
least 10x.
the only way that would work is if it's a once in a while experience, right?
Yeah,
Like
like I'm on
the odd
vacation. I told
person.
you with
Yeah.
like a good reason, but we're talking about like the weekly experience of
Yeah.
working leads,
These were
where the
cold direct
actual
response
industry
leads.
tolerance is 7 minutes, and
Yeah.
they're measuring their response time in days.
Yeah. And a single phone call when the agent had time.
Yeah.
And like they weren't in this, they didn't want them in a CRM. They were all over. Like it was one of those conversions. So that was actually back then the first moment where I realized, even though like our main business was running ads for people, that I do build a second product that either did for them or built out for them to do some type of conversion system for them. And like, because like I can't bring people on if I don't know they can do that because we're gonna have these situations again. So like for
At
me as a
least a
big worker,
measurement system
something.
saying like this is what solves things.
Yeah.
Minutes of response time. How long is the average call that connects,
Yeah.
right? Your actual conversation time. And then also call attempts. How many times you attempt
Yeah.
each person and different communication types. Call, text, email. Like even if you when you think about the people that refer you clients, for the average person, if you don't call them back today, they're going to either think that you're too busy or that you don't care.
Yeah.
Um, if you do call them back outside of 2 hours, they're going to be in this like wondering space. And that's reasonable. Like, what service should you wait that long, even for initial contact? If you went and sat down at a restaurant, I think the good ones actually time it to say that you should have drinks in front of you in 6 minutes.
Oh yeah. There's some like really interesting data points around like I love learning that side of other businesses. Like, do you ever see that interview that went viral? It was Gary Vee with a restaurateur, how they handle people coming into the restaurant. They even have the experience down to if it's the hostess always asks, is this your first time coming? If it is, when she sits you down, she puts a red napkin with you. And that signifies to all the staff this is their first time, you got to rush. Because it's apparently it's like if that first time is like so good, you actually buy yourself leeway every other time. Like that first one carries so much weight that all we got to do is get that second one. So the other thing they did is like if they had that red napkin, it'd be like, well, what if we gave them a coupon with their bill for like a free entree next time? Because if they come back a second time, now you got them locked in almost like a regular.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
think
like
in
those
restaurants
little,
it's probably similar, like 3 to 5 times.
yeah,
In most call-based sales process, they say that relationships start on the fifth phone call.
no. Or the
It
other one
might
I
take,
heard was 3 hours of social time. So that's where they're saying golf did so well for so many people in sales is because you got 4+ hours with them. And so it's something it's 3 hours of social time with someone for like 95% of people is enough to trust them with their money. And so
interesting.
that's why golf courses became a thing for so long. Get them on the
Hmm.
course, 4 or 5 hours with them. By the end, they're going to trust you with their money.
Hmm. I like that. And I also like when you think about the ways that you can just kind of score points in minutes.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're doing as a team right now is talking to people on the phone and inviting them to our open house, even if it wouldn't fit them.
No. Well, in the minutes
Because
one
just getting more
is
time
yeah,
with them, getting to them to see you, especially if they walk into an open house and they
yeah,
feel good and they get a snack and they kind of like get that general Costco experience where you talk about concepts. It doesn't need to be about that house.
yeah. I was at a mastermind and it was for coaches, not real estate coaches, just like coaches in general. Because a lot of like how they sell coaching is how we sell training and workshops, stuff like that. So good mastermind to be at. And they called it brand width, but they had someone who did, and we've talked about this, I think, on the show, but they were studying all their content, their communication of like people who've been on the list who buy in a day versus people who are on a list for 3 years before they buy. Like, what is that thing that makes them buy? And when they did it, and this is not an exact science, it was 48 minutes of content is how long it took for someone to buy.
Hmm.
So whether they've been on the list for 3 years or 2 days, they typically, it was once they passed around that 48-minute mark of content.
So it sounds like what was the product?
This was coaching services
Okay, so that
for
makes
business.
sense
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
a large fee subscription model in most cases.
Yeah.
So the person that you're marketing to is probably going to view this as a larger decision and consume more content before they're actually commitment ready.
Yeah.
So that zone where they're in the marketing qualified lead would have to be very robust because they're going to be in that zone. You've got to have like think about how much content you'd have to be to make it you'd like to have so that someone with specific interest would be able to get to 48 minutes.
So that's what they, from this learning, tried and worked very successfully, is they took all their best content they've ever put out and were across different mediums, blog posts, podcasts, YouTube videos, Instagram reels. And basically the first 30 days was blast them with it, with all their best pieces of content to try and speed up how quickly people got to 30 days. And what they found is by doing that, but it was specifically had to be when you're sending them content, you're sending it in different mediums. Because maybe this person will watch a podcast, but this person will read articles, this person will watch a YouTube video. So let's send them pieces of all of it until they grab the one that hooks them in. And they found that the rate of people buying sped up. And I don't know, I forget the number now, so I'm not going to make one up or anything. But they had a very specific, like, this was the percent improvement. It was one of those ones where you're like, that was a significant jump for them by optimizing the first 30 days for getting the most content consumed across different mediums. So like we're now kind of looking at that for like REM of when we get a new subscriber, what should that first stretch look like to kind of get them hooked in the same way of not from the perspective of buying anything, more just from like we want to make sure you keep opening the emails coming back to REM as the source. What's the right mix of content to give them that first little bit? Um, that is our equivalent of the 48 minutes.
Well, they have a few calculus or like their catalyst calculators. One of the famous ones, I can't remember his name. He's one of the early hires onto Facebook. And what he found is that if someone had more than 12 friends in 7 days,
Yeah.
they would become a daily user. They would have a probability likely of becoming a daily user. And that was very valuable because when they pushed for that and proved it worked, that showed them how to scale.
Yeah.
We had Andy C. Andy C is one of the best realtors in the world, and we had him on a few weeks ago. And Andy was telling me about the frequency of contact somebody has to like he feels as though needs to be present in his marketplace for him to be the market leader. And he was talking about having marketing on the grocery carts and having a billboards and having your street signs in many of the neighborhoods because you're the listing agent there. But also, one of his strategies was like delivering 30 open house signs.
No.
So Andy is a machine when it comes to open houses. I've never seen anyone like him. I bet you when you take a look at his career, he has probably done more open houses than maybe 10 other realtors combined. He would double them up on the weekend for years and years and years. And he would do this. He spent as much time setting up and pulling down signs as he did in the open house
No, I could
because
see
he
that. And it's
viewed them
worth
as
it.
portable billboards and it
Yep.
works.
Oh, like it's one of those ones where if you have the time and budget, especially, I'd be hiring people to put them all over. Like I'd be putting, as long as it's within like whatever the town allows, because there are towns that have very strict limits on it. Um, and it depends if you're willing to break those limits. But I'd basically putting out, yeah, like here's Trish saying we're allowed to use 5 open house signs in Oakville. But now, like you'd have to really dive into the technicality of like, is that 5 open houses per agent? What if you have a team?
Yeah, it
Uh,
could be per property. It also could
yeah.
mean you could have five open house signs, but you might be able to combine that with five new listing signs
Yeah, I
and
don't
then
think so. I
do
know in
like a
there you're not
more,
allowed to have them off the property. Like typically all of Ontario, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, you're allowed one sign per property and you
yeah, but
can't do
the
any.
directional signs that you see for open houses are often used for new listing as well.
Yeah, I've never, at least in Ontario, and I might be different in Alberta, you're not allowed to put those up. So like there's most municipalities how long you're allowed, but like there's some it's like you only have half an hour before and after the open house for like the 4 or 5 signs you're allowed and bylaw patrols.
Yeah. See,
And
that's the nice thing about being in a place
yeah.
that has redneck regulation resistance,
Yeah.
right?
You've mentioned that.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So this is where it kind of gets into like the how can we take advantage of like the rules that are here and push them. Like if I had 5, I'm now more looking at all right, where's the best place to put those 5 just to maximize visibility,
Hmm.
and different things like that. But or it's like, for example, most people use one of the 5 at the house to be like on the driveway point or like right at the front of the lawn, be like, this is where it is. They're like, wrap your car and park it strategically.
Hmm.
Right? Like there's different things like that you can kind of get away with.
Yep. Yeah, like given my brand, we put like a balloon on the front lawn.
Yeah.
There's some other things you can do. You can do those crazy like attention grabber like
Yeah.
dank guys. And also, I haven't seen this done, and I'm not sure what the rules would allow, but like, what about a human holding a sign? Can you hire one of those
I
people to dance with a
I bet
sign?
you
Does that
could.
fit into your open house
I
sign?
mean, that's why they have those people is because you're not allowed to put signs in the ground, but someone can hold them.
Yeah.
Um, I bet that's actually a pretty good method you could do if you just paid a couple like high school kids,
Oh
grab some
man.
signs, and just sit there spinning them.
There's this dude that's been dancing on the corner in my town at like rando times. He looks like a 20 something
Yeah.
guy on a skateboard and he wears his helmet and you can tell he's got his tunes blasting and he just dances and people like beep and he's kind of part of the culture. I should approach that dude and see if he wants to
Yeah.
do the same thing. I know that there's some people that the reason they do that is autonomy. Like you
Yeah.
could not pay them to
Yeah.
actually do those things. But I wonder.
It's worth that, right? Like, but that is the reason those people exist is because of sign bylaws. Um, Why wouldn't? Because it wouldn't be that expensive per open house in terms of like the potential reward of it, um, to line those up. You should do it. And then there's other things around like what about balloons? But like a lot of them.
Hmm. Like
You
like
just
the movie Up.
yeah. Like could you start doing stuff like that? That's almost like a billboard with height requirements gone, and you're just
Hmm.
how could you do stuff like that? But again, it's all kind of
When you think about evidence of a struggle, think about people that couldn't afford Super Bowl marketing, so they hired a skywriting plane.
yeah,
Like you think about the way around or like the third door. We've talked about him before, Chris Lindahl.
yeah.
He bought billboards in the opponent team's
Yeah, I love this story.
city for football. He's a Minnesota guy, he's a Viking guy, and he bought billboards in their
In
the
Philly.
Super Bowl was in Philly,
Yeah,
and he knew how many people would fly in from Minnesota to Philly. So on the route from the airport to the Super Bowl, he bought billboards that talked smack.
yeah. And it got picked up by local news in Minnesota,
He got picked up
and
by
I
national news.
I think he said he got him 3 million impressions
Yeah.
on that one. Yeah. Like that's
So
pretty
there's things that you can do
good.
that are basically
Yeah.
ways to go around.
The skywriting one's always an interesting one because I actually have no idea if or what regulations exist around skywriting. Um, or how much that costs. Like I have no idea what it would cost to get
It's not
someone
as
to do
common as it
skywriting.
used to be,
Yeah,
but here's an example of that at an extreme level. In China,
the
video
drones.
games were banned.
Yeah,
And this was a very controversial issue for young people. And then a KG company put drones in the sky at night that formed a QR code that actually functioned to
it's
download a video
impressive.
game as a way to go around.
It's impressive.
So are drones and things like that the skywriting of the future? Because right now, the regulations, especially if all like the number of drones, I don't think is affected by the rules. And as long as they're under the gram minimum requirement and you're
Yeah.
not in like an air, you're not right beside an airport, these things are possible now.
Now, I think if you're doing the drone thing, that's probably way more expensive in most areas, unless a company already exists that has that, right? You know, like in your area with that many drones. Because I bet in most geographic areas today, there's not a lot of companies in North America set up with enough drones to do that type of thing.
Hmm.
So like probably today that's cost prohibitive compared to like skywriting. But like for me, like I would totally look up what sky like if I were you, I'd look up skywriting and take like just one of those beautiful days with a big event in Edmonton and just go right hack and co in the
Cool.
sky, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Like
way I roll, because this is Alberta, it'll be like a friend of mine with a plane.
yeah, it works. Well, it's like, do you ever watch Kenny versus Spenny?
Yeah.
So I always remember the episode where the challenge was who can piss off the most people. Do you remember
Hmm.
this one?
So for people that don't know this, this was on MTV,
Yeah,
and Kenny versus Spenny were friends that basically tortured each other,
yeah,
and it was almost like what we see now in viral prank videos, but
yeah,
just one on one. And each week they would have a challenge,
yeah.
and these challenge ranges. Do you
Yeah,
remember
like
any other ones?
yeah, there's one that was like who can drink the most beer, and
Oh yeah,
one guy like found a beer that had the same bottle except a non-alcoholic version. And so
yeah.
he was drinking non-alcoholic beer, the other guy was drinking actual beer, and the other guy just got destroyed. But so there's one episode where it's who can piss the most people off. And so like the
Mm.
one guy's just going around like walking down the street swearing at people and like just doing stuff like that. So the guy who's known for being the kind of clever shithead, um, first thing he does is he went downtown Toronto to like the main intersection and just parked his car in the middle of it and walked away. Um, then went to like a Jays game and wore the Yankees jersey and basically had like a sign and got on the billboard like Jays suck. So he's getting all the people pissed off there. And then for the finale, he got a banner behind a plane to fly it around the city for like an hour with just like
Mm.
lines that were taking shots at everyone in Toronto. And so obviously he blew it up and he was thinking that because like one guy was going to like 1 to 1. He's like, how can I get this message to piss people off at a like millions standpoint?
Wow.
And he started thinking big of like, how could I have that network effect? I was like, there actually is something really clever from a marketing perspective of what he just did there of like, yeah, if you want to get in front of a lot of people and you're willing to be bold with it, you can do it. And
Well,
I was
that's the whole
like,
idea is to
uh,
think in bigger numbers. Like that's what we're talking about
yeah,
when we say that sales is conversations for cash, and then
yeah,
marketing is methods to make that happen. But it's methods. That's why when people talk about marketing, some of it feels a little kind of woo-woo. Like, yeah, you should write in the sky. And then
yeah,
some people are like, okay, how does that work? People see
yeah,
Hack and Co in the sky,
yeah.
and then immediately they like call me and give me their listings?
No,
No,
but they're gonna
that's
look
a
you up.
brand play,
Yeah,
right? So the people that already know you will talk about you to their friends.
yeah.
Oh yeah, did you guys see that? It's crazy. My realtor hired some guy in a plane. He was over top of the Fringe in Edmonton, or the Heritage Classic, like an NHL game, and it basically it has to be edgy. And if you're looking for
Yeah.
examples of people who do this, I think that Richard Branson's probably one of the best.
Yeah. But it's also just a lot of like Red Bull's great at this too, right? Of like, how does them skydiving from space sell Red Bull? But it's that brand awareness. But like, I think with like real estate, the big thing is like, with a few exceptions, and there are exceptions to this, you're not convincing someone timing of their move is going to change, right? Like someone's going to move when they're going to move, with a few exceptions.
No, no, you guys
Um,
need to hold off on your divorce.
yeah. Or hurry up and do it. But so it's like you just have to be remembered as those people that can help them. And so like doing those things that cements you in their head of like that's the realtor. Like this is one that I thought like it wasn't gimmicky, it wasn't like a big show. Is what Justin Haver did really well in Calgary outside of the SEO was he like cornered the airport. It's like if you
Mhm.
ever flew into Calgary, or still, I think to this day, his stuff is everywhere. Like there's like literally locally, they'll joke how it's like the Justin Haver International Airport, right? Like you can, I think on Facebook, you can actually check in at the Justin Haver International Airport to the point that like I think what I heard a story, I think it was from him that like when the airport brought in brand consultants, like part of it was like how can we rebrand and get like a separation from him because it was so well known because he was so consistently there. And what I thought was especially genius about the airport is like typically people who fly are more likely to be homeowners too because you have
Yeah,
to have a
and
above
typically
means.
higher income.
Yeah, because you got to be able to afford the flights. So it's like, yeah, like owning, being like the airport guy is pretty great branding to get in front of them there, just consistently there all the time. Like people who fly a lot, like typically if someone's flying a few times a month, they definitely have higher income.
Hmm.
Because those are the type of jobs that typically are charging more. And so if they're constantly seeing it, and especially Calgary where there's so many people in and out for work because of all the oil offices there and different things like that, um, that's a pretty high traffic, high value spot. That so it's like in your area, think we're like where those are. But yeah, like for Edmonton, I don't know what that type of traffic's like at the airport there.
Yeah, the airport would still be the same demographic. It's people that can afford to
Yeah,
fly.
yeah,
There also would be some other things to kind of take a look at. Like we really would take a look at, around a Costco as like a
yeah,
location. Um, Costco, even though it's known for being making things affordable, you also have to buy in large quantities, so it is
yeah,
definitely for higher than average
yeah.
household income.
Oh yeah, it is very much over the
And you
average.
piggyback off things like in my market, there's a company like there's a store called West Coast Kids, and it's like
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
ritzy kid stuff. And that would also be a place to try to hang out because they're filtering the traffic you want, you know? So then you can target market as opposed to going really wide.
yeah. But like I wouldn't just sort of be like, hey, like, how could you partner with them on something, right? So like, and what partnering might actually mean is you're buying something from it and doing giveaways. Be like, hey, like approach and be like, I want to buy whatever like one of your top most desired items is, but I want you to give it away on your social from us. So like all they get the promotion, but you're not asking for it for free. You're just like, literally, I'm gonna come and buy like your biggest stroller because some of those get pretty expensive. Um, be like, I'm gonna buy it. I want you guys to give it away for me like, on your stuff and get in front of their audience with something like that.
See, I like the way you think, Andrew. You've already got my
Yeah.
wheels turning.
Right.
So tell me more about that. So definitely something like West Coast Kids, they would have
Yeah.
something like the Veer stroller,
Yeah.
which is a $750 stroller that delivers a killer experience. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
And then you would go there and buy one of these, and they're super popular for the people that can't quite buy it, but even the people that can, you got to often
Yeah.
make a
They're
choice
still
to do
thinking
this or
about
something
it.
else.
Yeah.
Right. So then we would go to them and say, we'd like to buy this and give it away, but we would like exposure to your audience. Would you be open to doing something like
Yeah.
this? Or maybe it has to be bigger than that. And they might say, okay, you have to buy five in order for this to work. Or however you can make the deal, but then you want to do like video spots. Is that the idea that I'm at West Coast Kids, we're giving away this. You should come by this Saturday. You can put your name in for the
Yeah.
Veer wagon, but
So this is
everybody
where you
who
have to
comes
look a
by
little bit
also
at,
gets other things.
So you have to look a little bit at your systems too and what it looks like. Because like there's different approaches to do this, right? Like I'll give you the example. There's an agent when Taylor Swift came to Toronto who gave away tickets to the concert.
Hmm.
Went mega viral. Like 50,000 subscribers, 100 like subscribers to their newsletter, like
Hmm.
80,000 new followers, but they're people from all over Canada. So it almost went like too big with it. So like you'd have to find a way to narrow it down to only people locally. So you want to really make sure you're getting their core audience, not like going viral outside of their audience. So there could be an argument of like the remember Brooklyn, do you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Nope.
So there's an episode where they're giving away a high-end stroller. And but it's a competition at the store and it's whoever takes their hand off it last. So, like everyone starts, puts their hand on it.
Hmm.
Last one with their hand on wins. And they get the stroller. So it's like, so in other words, like they're already going to be like, so I'd find a way to like make it an in-person thing, ideally, where they have to come out. But because like if
Hmm.
you're just adding, like this is where you get into like people not from your audience. Now, Edmonton might not be too bad because like how far outside of Edmonton are people going to come from, really? That wouldn't be a potential client.
Yeah, it really depends on what you're offering and
Yeah,
who it's valuable to. So you want to offer something that's valuable to your ideal client profile,
yeah.
and then
That's not going to go
ideally you
outside of
want to
it too
set up
much.
more interaction with them.
Yeah. So like the
So,
other argument could be like they have to come to your office to get it after.
hmm.
Like there's things like that that you can do, or it's like you want to deliver it to their house. And then this is where like, and we had talked about this a while back, like the idea of like it's a Mr. Beast style social gimmick of hiding something of value around town at certain um landmarks.
Yeah, as soon as I catch up with the video that we're working on,
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
It that's like the biggest, that's one of the hardest things about entrepreneurship is you're
Yeah.
like,
The idea
man,
is
I got to go find more clients. Wait a second, I got to take care of these clients. Okay, now I got to go find, no, I got to take care of these
yeah.
ones. And then I'm gonna, oh, okay, wait a second.
Yeah. And the ideas they come and they come and they come and there's so many. Like I still think there's something to the idea of going to all the local pizza shops and buying all their boxes for them with your branding on it.
I love that idea, and
Right?
I have to find that
Right?
because
It's
you got
that
to find a
little
place that's not a franchise, right?
yeah, and they just use plain white boxes ideally. Like if they have some boxes already, that's fine. You might be able to convince them, but like if they do branded boxes, they're probably less likely to. But like
Hmm.
I know there's a place near me that a lot of
Well,
people
if you
locally order
could cut their
from,
budget
plain
with
white.
boxes, like
Yeah.
you might be talking to them about a pain point, like saying, "I
Yeah.
will buy the boxes
Yeah.
and I will provide them to you,
Yeah.
and we'll make it kind of fun." But like now let's go, now let's take this a step further. If I'm buying pizza boxes, here's the way it's going to go. Is I am going to put a coloring contest on the front on the top of that pizza box.
Yeah.
And then I want people to share it on social media to be involved in a contest
Yeah. For kids.
for kids.
Yeah.
And we should give them something cool like a bike.
Free pizza.
True.
So like I'll give you an example. When I was in high school, it's kind of a funny story, it turns out. My there was the town of Aurora was having like their whatever anniversary, and I grew up in Aurora, and there was a essay writing contest of why you loved Aurora. And it was broken down by age groups, like 5 to 7, 7 to 9, whatever. And I was in the like 15 to 7. I was in grade 12. I was like, the prize though was free pizza for a year from Topper's Pizza. So I was like, and I just heard this story of this teacher who saw a job opening in Hawaii for teachers, and everyone assumed everyone's going to apply to a teaching job in Hawaii. So no one applied except him. So he got the job by default because he's the only one that ended up applying. So I was like, well, I might as well write something. Like I'm a horrible writer at the time, especially. So I just like went on the Town of Aurora website, looked at why they said Aurora was good, and I just paraphrased into an essay and submitted it. I won because I was the only one who entered, and I got free pizza for a year. Um, and then they did like the award ceremony at Canada's Wonderland, Town of Aurora Day, and there's a photo that went in the newspaper at the time of all the winners. I was the only one in my age group and the two age groups under me. So it's me
Huh.
on stage at like 17 with like a bunch of 6-year-olds.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's an amazing photo because it's like I'm big enough to be an adult at that point, right? Because I was like 6 feet and I was going to the gym a lot. And it's me with a bunch of 6-year-olds on stage at Wonderland. But I got free pizza for a year.
You're like, I don't care. This is worth
Yeah.
it.
I finished. So what it ended
I'll
up being
crush you,
was
6 year old.
two pizzas a month for 12 months. They just give you all 24 coupons that day.
Mhm.
They lasted like 6 weeks.
Because that's like
Yeah.
that's like I'm a single white male, but by
Yeah.
craft dinner standards, I'm a family of four.
Yeah. And it, well, well, really what it was like the summer, like Town War Day was July, it was like same as Canada Day, July 1st. And so like now I'm off for the summer with my buddies and I have 24 coupons for free pizza. So every time we're hungry, like pizza, and I'm feeding six of us at least each
Hmm.
time. They go quicker than you realize at that point. But they did not make it through the summer. Um, but no, that's like that idea. Like that one though went like got a lot of attention from the younger age groups, and the free pizza was enough to get people to jump in. It's like all
Is
you literally have
anybody
to
who's
do.
on here live right now interested in trying to make a pizza deal? Like, I'm interested in this. You know,
Yeah.
trying to make a pizza deal, even if you could do it, like, let's structure this a little bit further. What if we just tried it for 1 month? So we could go to a pizza company and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about this. Would you be open to the concept? And they're like, yeah. And then it's like, okay, tell me how many pizza boxes it would take.
But I
Like, what's
think
your
similar to
imagine?
direct mail though, just doing it for 1 month isn't going to tell you if it's going to work or not. I think you got to treat this like a direct mail thing where it's a 6 month minimum commitment to actually see if it moves the needle.
Okay. So I would still do one test month. I really
Yeah.
believe that before I go deep into something that's likely going to be
Yeah.
expensive, that I
Yes. You got
would
to find
want to
out pricing
do
before.
I would just want to spice like I would just want to do like a test shot. I might even do like talk to them about doing 1 week. You know, depending on how much their flow is, we could do a small prize. Just see if some people that are maybe my clients catch it on social media, not a big commitment.
Yeah.
But now if I go back and talk to the guy that has that pizza place and say like, "Hey, how'd you feel about that?" You know, my big time of year that I want to be relevant is this time of year. Maybe if we started something in, February.
It's like the Starbucks holiday cups. It's the Hack and Co. pizza season.
Yeah, and then kind of launched it as we build
Here's the
towards this.
competition. The competition's not drawing the box. It's before, and the winning kid gets to design the box. So you run a competition earlier in the year where kids get to draw and submit a design. You then take that design and put it on the box with your branding, and then you buy like a month of the pizza boxes with the kids drawing on it.
So we would ask them to make it real estate themed and draw our
I
like
wouldn't
logo
even say that.
up on them.
So like how I would look at doing is do the flat part up top. Let that be the kids. What like it could be a unicorn. It doesn't matter. And then the sides are all Hack and Co. Like it's wrapped on the sides
Hmm.
as Hack and Co. And then on the top is the kids drawing of whatever they want to do. And then that's what they have to submit ahead of time. And then you just go get that printed onto boxes. But it's yours all around the side. Like big color. So it's like really stands out. And then they're drawing on the top of it.
Is that how you would do it month to month? Is you'd run a contest and then run the
I would
winner
do this
next
more as
month and
like
then run the contest and run the winner?
no, I'd make this like a once a year thing.
Hmm.
Or like as the test or something like that, right? Of like or frame it to like a time of year or something. Like hypothetically, if like the Oilers won the cup, be like try and time it where it's like do an Oilers themed drawing and we're gonna pick the winner and we're gonna buy all because then it becomes commemorative with them winning and that could get more likely to be picked up by the news. and you're doing something cool for a kid. And then you, like it also encourages pizza sales for this place 'cause people are going to want to get the commemorative pizza box
So
from the
you're like
Oilers on the
crossing
cup.
up almost like newsjacking with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, if we were going to do one, we would be doing the Alberta separation pizza.
Yeah. So what you're
Maps
doing
that
though
look
is the
like
pizza
holes
then
in a
has to be
donut.
like one slice has pepperoni, the rest is cheese.
Uh, yeah,
Uh,
I wonder if there's some other things like spring would be
yeah.
one. So
Yeah,
like
like you could do
spring
Easter, you could
themed.
do Halloween, you could
Mhm.
do like there's a million ways you could tie it in. So like you'd probably want to like if I were you, what I'd probably say is you would want to try and time it to get the spring market bump, right? So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if you
totally.
want to
That's
get
what I
the
was saying.
listings in
Like
spring,
February,
yeah, you
March,
want that range.
maybe
But you'd
March,
also
April.
yeah, so like you can start maybe the competition itself or like the drawing competition's January. So you have to submit it by a certain date in January. So this is where you have to go in like logistics wise. You have to go find out pizza box companies that supply pizza boxes. How long ahead of time do they need to produce how many? You got to talk to the company about how many they would need in a typical month, that period. So then you know, okay, I have to have the design to them by this date. Then from there, you can work back your dates. But if you want it to be like the month of February, all these boxes are going out, when do those boxes need to be produced? When do they need the artwork? So then when do you need to have everything submitted to you by? And then you want like a 30-day window of this being open for people to submit.
Okay. This sounds like it's going to be an interesting endeavor.
Yeah. Then you got to call every newspaper and TV channel in Edmonton and tell them about it.
Okay.
That's how you get covered. Like this is what I saw when I sold. I told you about Light Up Aurora.
Yep.
Yeah. So I did the Christmas light competition, and that's how I got the front page of the Aurora newspaper with like my shot at the Christmas parade. I just called up the newspaper and said, "Hey, I'm running a competition for who has the best Christmas lights in Aurora. Would you guys like to cover it? I think it's a good story." And then I just went and got three local businesses to donate prizes, and it was literally just like vote on my Facebook page for which one's the best. Popularity contest does not work when someone with the worst lights has the most friends, but
Mm.
it was a horrible house. There was like one house that won a couple of years that was like legitimately like the best one. But like second place every year was this house who they took like one tree in front and put like five lights. But they
Mm.
just had the most friends. So every year that one shitty house won second place.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but if I had stayed in sales, we were going to switch it to a third is popular vote. A third is I was going to like get like the businesses who donated the prize, and then I was the third vote, and it'd be like then who won,
Hmm.
um, to kind of mitigate a little bit of the impact of this is just the most popular person.
Oh, come on. Let the
Yeah.
internet Bodie McBoatface
I
it.
was just thinking Bodie McBoatface. But that's what you might end up with a pizza box of the
I've
Bodie
already been that.
McBoatface.
I when I
Yeah.
was the Bingo Tunes sponsor, I ended
Yeah.
up with many a crayon genitalia drawn on my head.
It happens.
But it was in a bar. That's kind of what it was. My favorite
So,
was the time they put it like right through, like it got me.
do you know another one that could work if you buy some bus bench ads? It's
Hmm.
copy the bus bench from Modern Family. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Do you ever watch Modern Family?
I have.
Okay, so obviously Phil Dunphy, the main character, is a realtor.
Yep.
He has a bus bench ad, and he has like a I can't remember exactly what he wrote on it, but it was like his slogan or something like that. But then he sits on the bus bench to get a photo and he puts his arms up like this. And the way it
Oh,
blocks it out, all that's visible is not a real man.
yeah,
So
that's
you could
funny.
do the same bus bench, but then get a photo of yourself in that position.
Yeah.
And that could be like it's one
But
of
it
those things
has
that
to
just
get
has
it
that
while it's hot, right? Or
yeah.
something that is like very cult classic.
Well, that's what that kind of is a little bit. Is like it's still
Mhm.
like Modern Family, similar to Friends, is one of those shows that keeps racking up streaming minutes because it's very rewatchable for a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
it's typically your demographic, I think, who would be watching that a lot. So that could be one of those like it's one of those things that you might do and it flops. Um, but it could be one of those things that catches on.
Hmm.
And it's like an inside joke for everyone. It's like similar to like this, like right, like this does actually very well for us randomly, unintentionally. It's like that little thing that the subtle nod to people who also get it.
Mm-hmm.
Just how can you fit those in?
And that is a great way to close. We are now at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's noon on the Pacific Coast, and this show is now going into the overtime zone. So if you're here
Yeah.
live in the stream, you may stay. But everybody else, thank you, and we'll see you next week.
See you, everyone who's watching the recording. And we'll chat with everyone soon who's here.